10 burning questions for Halloween Resurrection. Let's get right into it today. Question number one: what do you think of the explanation for Myers being back? That he switched bodies or switched outfits, I guess, with the paramedic. And why didn't the paramedic say anything? He had his larynx crushed, so he couldn't say anything. What do you guys think of that? It's pretty fucking stupid, right? Really fucking stupid, especially if you actually sit and think about it. If you sit and you think about Myers stripping that guy butt naked, him stripping butt naked, uh, it's just absurd. What else could they have done? I don't know, because Halloween H2O really would have put them in a bind here because his fucking head was cut off, right? So he had to switch bodies with someone. So I guess it works. I don't know. I mean, obviously the main thing would be just to not make Halloween Resurrection, right? But that's not an option. They were H2O made a shit ton of money. It was coming back. But the crushing the larynx and switching with the paramedics, if you actually sit and think about it, it's fucking absurd. But I want to know what you guys think about it. Do you like it? Maybe you like it. Maybe you're a fan of it, and that's okay. But I've never been able to get behind it. Question number two: is this the worst movie in the Halloween franchise? Now, for me, it always comes down, if you're asking me the worst movies in the Halloween franchise, it comes down to three movies. It comes down to this, comes down to Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 from 2009, and it comes down to Halloween 5. Halloween 5 pisses me off more than any movie in the franchise, but it ain't the worst. Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 bores me more than any other movie in the franchise, and maybe that's a me issue, but it bores me more than any movie in the franchise. But once again, it's not the worst. There's a lot of things in there, which we'll be talking about, that are pretty okay, and some good filmmaking stuff like that. But this movie, it's the worst in the franchise, in my opinion. What do you guys think? Is it the worst in the franchise? Clearly, it killed the franchise because that's when we started rebooting and stuff after this. But yeah, for me, this is the worst movie in the franchise. Question three: did they improve Myers' mask? We know H2O did not get the mask right. Right, it was a whole debacle with 12 different masks or whatever, including a CGI mask. Yes, a CGI mask. But did they correct it in Halloween Resurrection? I think so. I think it's a lot better. I still would prefer the Halloween 6 mask over this. And everyone always talks about, right, the eyebrows, right? The eyebrows on the mask and Resurrection are too distinct and pointing down. He looks angry. I agree with all that, but I think the mask in and of itself, you take away the eyebrows and the eyebrow issue, and I think it's pretty serviceable. So I think they did. It was a major improvement between Halloween H2O and Halloween Resurrection as far as the Myers mask. Question four: what's the worst moment in this movie? For me, it comes down to two moments involving one character, involving one actor, and that's Busta Rhymes. It's the "You're not Michael Myers, I'm Michael Myers." Like, God. And Myers lets him fucking live? What? And then, of course, the "trick or treat, motherfucker." And then kicks him in the nuts and kung fu's his ass all over the Myers attic or something like that, and lives once again. Just horrible. You're disrespecting. You're making a joke out of the icon of the franchise, which is something you can never fucking do. You can make jokes and you can be self-referential and all kinds of shit, but you can't make a mockery or a joke of Michael Myers, or your movie is fucking dead. And that's what this movie did. And that's why this franchise died temporarily. Question five: how the hell did Laurie build such an elaborate trap? She's got Michael stepping in something with a rope on it, and then it cranks him up and hangs him upside down over the building. How the fuck could Laurie build that? It's not like she had 40 years to build a trap like in Halloween 2018 in her own house. She's building a trap on the roof of an insane asylum where she shouldn't even be able to get up there by herself, let alone have access to and the capability to make all this in a year or two's time, whatever. Like, just absurd. How could she have done that? Like, I'm all for suspending disbelief in movies, but that's a little too extreme for me. Question 6. Is this cast extremely unlikable, or is it just me? I mean, who is your favorite cast member in this? Who's your favorite character? It's certainly not Buster Rhymes. I mean, maybe Tyra, but she barely has any lines and dies off screen. It's not Decker. That guy fucking sucked. Uh, yeah, it's not Henry Rowan Gardner from Rookie of the Year. He's terrible in this movie. I don't know, Sean Patrick Thomas. I don't know. I don't find anyone in this cast likable, like, at all. So it's hard for me to root for anyone. Even the main character, Sarah, it's just her line, "This is for all of them." It's fucking terrible. Really terrible. So yeah, I think this is right up at the top of most unlikable casts, because even the other movies like Halloween 5 that has a shitty cast of characters, right? You still had Jamie. I mean, she was mute. You still had Loomis. This movie's got nothing. Nobody for us to invest in, which is another issue that really drives this movie down. Question 7. What's the best kill in this movie? Once again, not very many memorable kills. It ain't Laurie falling off the building. I think a lot of people will say Katie Sackhoff's character when she gets her head chopped off at the top of the stairs. My issue with that is it's too unbelievable again. He's just got a butcher's knife. You can't just swipe someone with a butcher's knife and chop their head off. Even if Myers has the superhuman strength he has, I don't think a knife, a regular kitchen butcher's knife, can do that. So I don't really know what the best kill is. Maybe the tripod kill, just because it's shot cool, right? Where a guy gets like the tripod through his neck, and we kind of just see it on the camera, with the camera being silent or something like that, while Tyra's busy making her cappuccino or something like that. So yeah, that'd probably be my choice for best kill in this movie. But let me know what you guys think. Best kill for you. Question 8. Would you have liked to see this sequel focus on John Tate and his character and Michael stalking him now? I think that would have been a better direction to go. Obviously, Josh Hartnett kind of blew up after H2O, so it probably wasn't an option because of that. I mean, you could have recast, but it would have been more questions and shit like that. But would you guys have liked to see a movie following John Tate? Maybe John Tate is hunting Myers, right? Maybe everything that happens still happens with the Larings and Laurie killing the wrong guy. But now John Tate's on the outside visiting Laurie, getting advice from Laurie. Laurie's directing him. You need to look here. You need to look here. Halloween's coming up. Be prepared. That could be interesting. Could be an interesting story where John has to get the info from Laurie, who's locked up in an insane asylum, and she's like kind of leading the search from the outside, or from the inside of the insane asylum, I should say. That could be interesting. Could be like a procedural, a detective procedural or something. Could be interesting. What do you guys think? Would you like that idea? Question 9. Did Rick Rosenthal really direct Halloween 2? And you might say that's a question for Halloween 2, Nick. No, it's a question for Halloween Resurrection, because, he directed both of the movies, right? And the reason I say that is Halloween 2 has so many amazing shots of Myers stuck in the hallways, etc., etc., etc. And we don't get any of that, really, besides the tripod kill like I talked about. And then there's one shot where Myers is standing outside the asylum where Laurie is at the beginning of the movie, where he's kind of in shadow in the behind like trees and shit like that. Those two shots are great. But the rest of the movie, nothing. Now, it could just be, he had Dean Cundy in Halloween 2, right? But it shows you how important story is, how important the director of photography is, like Dean Cundy, a little bit of Carpenter involvement as well. Like, all that stuff is super, super important. And Rosenthal did an amazing job with Halloween 2. And, I mean, I'm not blaming him for Halloween Resurrection, but his directing here just didn't do it for me. And finally, question number 10. What was your reaction when this movie came out originally? If you're old like me and you saw it in the theaters, or, when you first saw it, what was your reaction? I remember the reaction of the general public was, they killed off Laurie Strode, Jamie Lee Curtis in 10 minutes. It's crazy. And then it was just standard slasher movie, which is all very true. My first reaction was, I didn't like it at all. It just was I mean, it just was, it was reality TV in the Myers house in 2002. That's all you need to know, right? A poor sequel, obviously, because like I said, in my opinion, it's still the worst in the franchise. But what was your guys' reaction when it first came out? Maybe you really liked it. Maybe it was a different. Like a different feel to it. Being like the claustrophobic in the Myers house. Maybe you enjoyed that. But for me, I didn't like it then. I don't like it now. The technology really, really dates this movie because the whole movie is dependent on the technology, which was new in 2002, which is now 22 years old. And we have so much better shit. So anytime you tie your story to something in technology, just know it ain't going to age well. But yeah, that is my 10 burning questions for Halloween Resurrection. Make sure you guys let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on these questions and if you have any interesting questions of your own. Thanks for watching. Next, we're getting to the Rob Zombie movies, so that should be interesting.